I now call order the regular session meeting of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Tarpon Springs on Tuesday, May 7th, 2013 at 6:30. Roll call.
Mayor Archie.
Here.
Vice Mayor Slattery.
Here.
Commissioner Larson.
Here.
Commissioner Terrapini.
Here.
Commissioner Banser is absent and excused.
Tonight's invocation was given by Chaplain Jack Long from Regional Medical Center. There in that point, then we'll have our honor guard, our police honor guard, and our pledge.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we have gathered here to do your business this evening, for all we do touches the lives of your children, people who you love. Help Mayor Archie and each commissioner, each official to perform their duties with compassion and strength. Thank you for their sacrifice and dedication to the people of Tarpon Springs and the surrounding areas. Bless them and their families. May we enjoy safety in this dangerous world. May each of us help one another, those in need, and may we take seriously our responsibility as citizens to serve, protect, and lead and advance this community. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First, we just thank our police department's honor guard for that. And now we'll go to public comments on any item that will not be discussed this evening. If you have something, please come forward, state your name, address for the record.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. I have two quick important topics. for the city of Tarpon Springs to consider. The first topic has to do with our Sunset Beach Park, which, as you all know, is a city park over on the beach. It's right close to Fred Howard Park. What's happened, and you probably all noticed this, the volume of people coming to Sunset Beach Park has increased dramatically since the county started charging $5 for parking over at Fred Howard. I was over there this past Sunday, and our police department, I'm sure the chief can attest to it, had their hands full with double parkers, diagonal parkers, and everybody. So what I'm suggesting is, since it's a city park, that we charge $5 a head for non-residents, the same as Fred Howard Park. Then at least by doing that, we'll be able to split the load. And the load will be getting heavier because people don't want to pay the $5. They're using city facilities and city police department sanitation, and they're not paying anything. So I think it's a little way to, one, raise revenue and level the playing field. Let some of those people go back to Fred Howard Park and take the load off of our Sunset Beach Park. That's all I had on that subject. The second subject I have is regarding the Beckett Bridge project. As I said before, my name is Bill Joyce. I live at 656 Bayshore Drive, and that's on the west side of town. And the Beckett Bridge, I probably go over 5 or 6 times a day. And the detour proposed by the county is quite lengthy, and I think a public safety issue, especially with the school over on Gulf Boulevard. Well, the police know that, other people know that. When school lets out, if we send all of this traffic from the Beckett Bridge over to Gulf Road and Whitcomb, when school lets out with the school buses and the kids driving, it's a mess. As a matter of fact, this last closure of the Beckett Bridge for 6 weeks, I spoke to my neighbors on the west side of the bridge. There was total chaos, cars going in all directions, and it was not pretty. I just had a couple of points. Number one, I am a professional engineer in the state of Florida, and I've worked on bridges for more than 20 years, so I'm speaking with a certain level of expertise. This Beckett Bridge project is a very difficult project. It's in a small area of town and a very tight construction zone. So the city must be involved with the design and planning. That's the most important part of one of these projects. And who makes the final decision? Has the final decision been made? I haven't seen. All I remember is this workshop in January at the Tarpon Springs Yacht Club. That was a beautiful dog and pony show, but I don't think it addressed the problems that we people here in the city will have when that bridge goes under construction. The report says it'll take 2 years. The neighbors I spoke to on the west side of the city cannot accept a 2-year closure of that roadway. It's just too burdensome, and it's a public safety issue, evacuation issue, EMS issue. Public safety is jeopardized. The other thing is, has the city done a report on the Beckett Bridge? We have a tendency to rubber stamp what the county feeds us. Not good. Not good. And I don't know if we do or not, have we had our city engineer do a report yet on this project? Because our city engineer should be involved with the county through all phases of the project. My recommendation is that we stay with the existing bridge as is and replace it with the new bridge. As you know, it's a low-level, unobstructed. If you look at the other plans, there's walls, there's underpasses, there's overpasses. It would tear up the entire neighborhood. So as a professional engineer, I'm saying that we should stay with the existing bridge the way it is, with a single-leaf fast-fuel bridge. Because as you know, our most expensive properties are probably on Whitcomb Bayou. Those people have money, and they want big boats. And they want to go under that bridge, so they'll need the single leaf. So, in closing, I just want to say that I strongly recommend that the city give a work order to our city engineer, TBE Cardno, and let them do prepare a report on alternate construction sequencing. The county did not recommend a temporary bridge. I put in many temporary bridges on these projects because they don't want to stop the traffic.
You could just kind of wrap up there, Mr. Joyce. I think
you can get a temporary bridge in there, and if we have our city engineer do this report, he can make this proposal. That way you won't have to close it to traffic for 2 years. Put in a temporary bridge while they work on the old bridge, and then switch it out. That's all I had. But again, in my email, I offered to be of assistance to anybody if you're writing a scope or, I have many ideas. If you look at the literature I gave out, there's other ideas in there about how you do foundations, when you do foundations. It's very difficult, and the planning is done now. Not in other words, they give us a set of plans and say construction is going to take 3 years.
Well, thank you.
Here we are. Thank you. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robin Sotelo-Red. I'm the Executive Director of the Cox and Kids Youth Center right here in Tarpon Springs. I'm here on behalf of the Peace for Tarpon Trauma-Informed Community Care Initiative. As you all know, Peace for Tarpon is an initiative that takes place right here in the community that is providing information, education, awareness to everyone that is in the city, whether it's professionals or residents, bringing awareness of the effects of trauma in all of our lives. The correlation with medical problems, the correlation with difficulties in the professional world, difficulties in your neighborhoods and relations. Trauma affects all of us. So I'm here to share with you all, invite you all, extend an invitation to an event that we're having at First United Methodist Church, which is on Tarpon Avenue. On May the 18th, doors will be opening at 9 o'clock. We'll have breakfast for everyone that comes in. There's going to be providers of different services that are available in the Tarpon Springs community there to answer any questions of residents. Normally when we do trainings, it's more of a professional event. We provide CEUs, which is credits for credentials and so forth. But this Peace for Tarpon training event is for the community. We really want the residents to come in with their humanness and not with their professional hat, and to come in and learn about the effects of trauma and how every day makes a difference in improving your health and your success in life. So on May the 18th, if you could just look at your calendar and reserve that day and invite your friends and family to come join us. Like I said, at First United Methodist Church, we are going to have daycare provided for free. We're going to have lunch included. There's no charge to the event whatsoever. We just want everyone to come together for this event and learn more about how we can unite as a community and support each other. And I have a flyer that I can give out. So, thank you, Chief. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other items? Seeing none, we'll go to proclamations. Our first one is Civility Month. This proclamation reads, City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas the open exchange of public discourse is essential to the democratic system of government, and whereas the cornerstone of democracy have observed certain rules of behavior generally known as civility, and whereas civility derived from the words from Latin words I guess I should just skip across meaning city, and civis meaning citizen. Is behavior worthy of citizens living in a community or in common with others, and whereas displays of anger, rudeness, ridicule, and impatience, and a lack of respect and personal attacks distract from the open exchange of ideas, prevent fair discussion of issues, and can discourage individuals from participation in government, and whereas civility can assist in reaching consensus on diverse issues and allow for mutual, respectful, ongoing relationship, and whereas civility can uplift our daily life and make it more pleasant to live in an organized society. Now, therefore, I, David Archie, by virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2013 as Civility Month. I think we'll be mailing this one. Next is Municipal Clerks Week, and this reads, Proclamation City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas the office of Municipal Clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world, and whereas the office of Municipal Clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of Municipal Clerks provides a professional link between citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas municipal clerks have pledged to be ever mindful of neutrality and impartiality, rendering equal service to all, and whereas municipal clerks serve as the information center on functions of local government and community, whereas it's most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the municipal clerk. Now, therefore, I, David Archie, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim the week of May 5th through the 11th, 2013 as Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our municipal city clerk Irene Jacobs and deputy city clerk Michelle Manusas for the vital services they perform and the exemplary dedication to the community they represent. And if we could have these two young ladies. Want to say something? There we go. All right. Our next, any public comments? Our next item is Older Americans Month, and this one reads, Proclamation City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas the city of Tarpon Springs recognizes that older adults are the roots of which our community grows, who bestow gifts of wisdom and insight upon the younger generation and to strengthen the bonds between neighbors to create a better place to live. And whereas the city of Tarpon Springs is committed to valuing all individuals and recognizing their ongoing life achievements, and whereas our older adults are active community members involved in volunteering, mentorship, arts and culture, and civic engagement, and whereas recognizes successes of community elders, encourages their ongoing participation in further accomplishments, whereas our community can provide opportunities to allow older citizens to continue to flourish by emphasizing the importance of elders and their leadership by publicly recognizing their continued achievements, presenting opportunities for older Americans to share their wisdom and experience and skills, recognizing older adults as a valuable asset and strengthening American communities. Now, therefore, I, David Archie, by virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2013 as Older Americans Month. Next proclamation is Public Works Week, and this proclamation reads, whereas public works services provided in our community are an integral part of citizens' everyday lives, whereas the support of an understanding and informed citizenry is vital to the efficient operation of public works systems and programs such as water, sewer, streets and highways, public buildings, and solid waste collection. And whereas the health, safety, and comfort of this community greatly depends on these facilities and services, whereas the quality and effectiveness of these facilities as well as their planning, design, and construction are vitally dependent upon the efforts and skill of public works officials And whereas the City of Tarpon Springs recognizes the contribution which public works officials make every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life, now therefore I, David Archie, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim the week of May 19 through the 25th, 2013 as National Public Works Week. We'll be mailing that one. Any public comments? The next one that we have, item number 5, Safe Voting Week. And this proclamation reads, whereas each year for National Safe Voting Week, the United States Coast Guard partners with voting organizations to raise awareness on the importance of taking proper precautions while voting, and whereas by embracing responsible voting practices, Americans can avoid preventable injuries and enjoy the majesty of our waterways, and whereas voters should remain aware of weather conditions, perform vessel safety checks, and ensure each passenger wears a life jacket and all required safety equipment is on board. And whereas the City of Tarpon Springs recognizes the importance of safe voting practices and encourages all who participate in voting activities to observe this occasion by learning more about safe voting and take advantage of voting education. Now, therefore, I, David O. Archie, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Tarpon Springs, do hereby support the goals of the North America Safe Voting Campaign and proclaim May 18th through the 24th, 2013 as National Safe Voting Week and the start of the year-round effort to promote safe voting. And I encourage all those who vote to wear it and practice safe voting habits. And for this, we have Mr. Roy Warner and Mike Booth of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. I'd like to come up and accept it. All right. And we have one addendum item, and that's Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day. And this one reads, Proclamation, City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, whereas Congress and the President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which it falls as Police Week, and whereas the Tarpon Springs Police Department and all law enforcement agencies play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our citizens and visitors, and whereas it's important for all citizens to know and understand the duties and responsibilities of the police department, and that our police officers recognize their duty to safeguard life and property and protect against violence and disorder, and whereas police departments have grown to be modern and scientific law enforcement agencies which unceasingly provide a vital public service, now therefore I, David Archie, by virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the City of Tarpon Springs, do hereby proclaim the week of May 12th through the 18th, 2013 as Police Week, and May 15th, 2013 as Peace Officers Memorial Day. And we ask if our chiefs and coaches receive this.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. It's truly an honor to lead the men and women of the Tarpon Springs Police Department. I always refer to them as Tarpon's finest. These men and women do an excellent job in serving our community, and at times they put their lives on the line in doing it. So they fully, deserve this recognition. We have Sergeant Miller in the back, Captain Templeton here today, and we thank you for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments on this item? Then we'll go to our consent agenda, and it's number 6, attorney fees, Fraser Hubbard Branch, Trask, Yakupon, Ness, LLP, invoice number 41981. Then we have B, C, and D is Thompson, Sizemore, Gonzalez, and Heron, LLP, invoice 69596, 69665, and 69666. 7 is special event, out of school beach bash, Recreation Division, June 1st, 2013. And 8 is renew file number 110049-B-TK, electric motor and pump repair parts. The next is authorized utilization of City of Tampa contract number 40112513, sale of scrap metal. Are there any items anyone want to pull? Any public comment? Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery? Yes. Mayor Archie?
Yes. We go to ordinance and resolution. Item 10A and 10B are legislative, and 10C is quasi-judicial. We'll take these together, but vote on them separately. And if you want to just have anyone that's going to be speaking and for his quasi-judicial.
I will, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And I also note that on the agenda, items 13 through 15 are quasi-judicial as well. So I'd ask for, I'll read the quasi-judicial procedure once, and then ask for all of the persons to testify not to be sworn at one time. And if there's stragglers, I'll try to catch them as they come in. This is a quasi-judicial proceeding where the Commission acts in the quasi-judicial rather than a legislative capacity. At a quasi-judicial hearing, it is not the Commission's function to make law, but rather to apply law that has already been established. In a quasi-judicial hearing, the Commission is required by law to make findings of fact based upon the evidence presented at the hearing and apply those findings of fact to previously established criteria contained in the Code of Ordinances in order to make a legal decision regarding the application before it. The Commission may only consider evidence at this hearing that the law considers competent, substantial, and relevant to the issues. If the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has met the criteria established in the Code of Ordinances, then the Commission is required by law to find in favor of the applicant. By the same token, if the competent, substantial, and relevant evidence at the hearing demonstrates that the applicant has failed to meet the criteria established in the Code, then the Commission is required by law to find against the applicant. There is an established procedure which will be followed at this quasi-judicial hearing. First, all witnesses must give their testimony under oath. All persons testifying at this hearing must give their name and address for the record. All testimony and questioning at this hearing must address matters that are relevant and material to the issues under consideration. The city staff will present its testimony and evidence first. The applicant will then have an opportunity to cross-examine city staff. The applicant will then present its testimony to witnesses, and city staff will have an opportunity to cross-examine the applicant's witnesses. Members of the public opposing the application will then be given an opportunity to present testimony. After all members of the public speaking in opposition to the application have concluded, members of the public in support of the application will have the opportunity to present testimony. Each member of the public is limited to 4 minutes of testimony. The applicant will then have an opportunity to make closing argument or summary, after which city staff will be given an opportunity to make a closing argument or summary. Following this, the Commission will consider the matter. Commissioners may ask questions of witnesses at this point in the proceedings. Then a motion will be made and a vote will be taken. I'm going to ask for anyone who intends to testify tonight on behalf of the city or the applications in this on the agenda tonight to please stand to be sworn. Do you swear or affirm the testimony that you're about to give in this proceeding is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
The first application is application 13-08 for property at 635 Beckett Way. This is an annexation, land use amendment, and a rezoning application. This is second reading. There's been no new information or public correspondence regarding this application since the first reading with the Board of Commissioners. for the purposes of the meeting tonight, I would just enter in testimony that we had at the first Board of Commissioners public hearing. Staff recommendation is to approve all three ordinances as they are presented in the application. Thank you.
Any additional questions for Mr. And Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second. Any public comments on this one? This is item 10A.
So we're reading ordinance.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ordinance 2013-08, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, annexing approximately .26 acres, more or less, of real property lying in the north one half of Section 06, Township 27 South, Range 16 East, located at 635 Beckett Way, providing for findings and providing an effective date. The second reading of Ordinance 2013-08 by title.
And just for the record, that was published in the Tampa Times by title only with a map on March 2nd and April 27th. Commissioner Tarpon?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 10B.
Ordinance 2013-09, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending the future land use map of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida for annexed property lying in the north one half of Section 6, Township 27 South, Range 16 East, located at 635 Beckett Way, from Pinellas County future land use designation of RU, residential urban, to City of Tarpon Springs future land use designation of RU, residential urban, providing for findings and providing an effective date. Second reading, Ordinance 2013-09 by title only.
Move for approval. Second.
Any public comments? Roll call.
This was also published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only with a map on March 2nd and April 27th. Commissioner Tarpon?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 10C.
Ordinance 2013-07, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending the official zoning map of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida for annexed property lying in the north one half of Section 6, Township 27 South, Range 16 East, located at 635 Beckett Way, from Pinellas County zoning designation of R4, 1, 2, and 3 family residential district, to City of Tarpon Springs zoning designation of R70, 1 and 2 family residential district, providing for findings and providing an effective date. Ordinance 2013-07, second reading by title only.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
This ordinance was also published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only with a map on March 2nd and April 27th. Commissioner Tarpon?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 11, ordinance 2013-10, requiring appointed advisory and quasi-judicial board members to take an oath of office. This is also a second reading.
Ordinance 2013-10, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, amending Section 2-1 of the Code of Ordinances entitled Appointments to Advisory and Quasi-Judicial Boards, to require members of appointed advisory and quasi-judicial boards to take an oath of office, providing for severability and providing for an effective date. Second reading, ordinance number 2013-10 by title only.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Any public comments on this item? Roll call.
Legal advertisement requirements were met as well. It was published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on April 21st. Commissioner Tarpon?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 12, ordinance 2013-12, Internet Cafe Moratorium, second reading.
Ordinance number 2013-12, an ordinance of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, imposing a 180-day moratorium on accepting applications for any permitted or conditional use which involves the sale of internet time or access associated with any form of contest that may constitute sweepstakes promotion under Florida law, imposing a 180-day temporary abatement on the operation and use of simulated gaming devices for the use by the public in any premises, providing for definitions, providing for exemptions, providing for severability, providing for enforcement, providing an effective date. This ordinance 2013-12, second reading by title only.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Any public comments on this item? Roll call.
This was published in the Tampa Bay Times by title only on April 21st.
Before we vote, Mr. Mayor, can I say something? Just sure y'all are, this has been in the newspaper a little bit, and I had a similar ordinance before the Kansas City Town Council recently. On April 10, Governor Scott signed into law House Bill, Enrolled House Bill 155, which in a sort of in a nutshell outlawed gaming devices of the type that you're looking to study here. And so our purpose in that that ordinance was to look for the same 180-day study period to determine what the Florida legislature or the county was going to do. The Florida legislature sort of against type moved very quickly with this and obviously passed a bill very quickly. I'm not recommending you to do this, but other towns and cities that have had these types of ordinance before them have abandoned them at this point because at this juncture it seems to be a matter of enforcement versus study. Okay, based on the governor signing of the bill on April 10th.
So we should go ahead and vote and then.
Well, it's up to Commission's pleasure, but I would suggest to you that you'd be voting to authorize a 180-day study period that is no longer necessary.
Since the governor signed it.
Yeah, because the legislation pretty clearly defines, and really the fundamental question in this issue was what is gaming versus what is a true sweepstakes. The bill, in my opinion, defines those things very closely and really makes it a matter of enforcement versus a matter of let's study it some more. And there was talk out there that if the legislature failed to act, that Pinellas County might look toward enacting an ordinance of countywide application that would address the issue also. To the extent that either a state statute or a countywide ordinance was going to draw lawsuits or challenges, obviously the prevailing wisdom is to let those bodies defend those challenges. And so I'm not sure what Mr. Yakovon has recommended to you in the interim, but in my opinion, the 180-day moratorium is no longer necessary in light of the legislation that's already been signed into law.
So should we just table this?
You can move to table it. You could move to abandon it. You could do nothing and move on to the next item by motion.
Okay.
At the advice of the attorney, I'd move to the next item and abandon this.
Second.
Any public comments?
I just wanted to ask a question. If we went ahead and passed this, what are the ramifications of that? In other words, what happens after 180 days? And the reason why I'm asking is I'm wondering, I understand what the state is doing. Will the gaming companies find some other loophole or find some other mechanism to still try to open their businesses? Therefore, maybe there's no harm in going ahead and passing it tonight, or what would happen? That's kind of what I'm wondering.
Well, people look for loopholes in bills in legislation all the time, and so to the extent that to move forward, what would you accomplish? I'd suggest probably nothing, simply because the legislature's already defined. Number one, I'm not sure that you wouldn't be prohibited from enacting legislation at this juncture, anyways. Under constitutional principles, under overlapping powers and things of that nature. But in terms of what do you gain by it, my opinion is probably nothing.
Okay. Thank you.
And it really becomes a case-by-case basis. I don't know that you have these in the city of Tarpon Springs yet, but at this point, there is legislation on the books that can be enforced now versus wondering, what is this versus what is this. Now, certainly there's probably gray areas in there as to how the games are run, but that's an enforcement situation versus one of should we legislate it in a particular way. So for that reason, my recommendation would be to not move forward with the ordinance.
Roll call.
Commissioner Simpson?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
This is voting to move on to the next agenda item?
This is to abandon the
Yes.
ordinance. Vice Mayor Slattery? Yes. Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 13 has been withdrawn by the applicant. That was Resolution 2013-17, application 1257. So we'll move to item number 14, Resolution 2013-18, application number 13-20, Sellers Site Plan Application for 199 Roosevelt Boulevard.
Okay. Read the resolution first. Resolution 2013-18, a resolution of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, approving application number 13-20 for site plan approval for construction of a metal storage building to be located at 199 Roosevelt Boulevard, providing for findings, providing for a certificate of concurrency, providing for conditions, and providing an effective date. Resolution 2013-18 by title only.
Thank you. This is application 13-20 for the property at 199 Roosevelt Boulevard. The applicant is Mr. Jack Sellers, and the agent here is Mr. Mike Tagarelli. He is in the audience. I don't know if you raised your hand. Okay. If we need to, we'll do it to be sworn. As I said, the location is 199 Roosevelt Boulevard. This is actually an exact application that the board has seen before. This application, this project came before the board and was approved in December of 2011 by the Board of Commissioners for a 2,400 square foot, essentially like a Quonset type hut building on the property at 199 Roosevelt. Met all the site plan review criteria at that time. Unfortunately, the applicant did not actually apply for a building permit within the 1-year time frame, so the site plan expired. So what is before you tonight is essentially the exact same application back for rehearing to be reapproved in the same configuration as it was originally approved. There's been no changes to the land development code since the first application was approved. Nothing that needs to be reconsidered, really. Under our site plan review criteria, it meets all of our standard site plan review criteria. There's nothing outstanding there. There are no issues with level of service as well. Staff recommendation is to approve the site plan subject to the following. Number one, the developer is responsible for acquiring all their jurisdictional permits and for meeting the minimum criteria of the land development code. Number two, construction plans signed and sealed by a registered engineer licensed to practice in the state of Florida must be submitted within 1 year of the date of final site plan approval. Number three, the site plan shall expire within 1 year of the effective date unless an application has been filed for a building permit. Number four, the architecture of the building must be substantially similar to the elevation submitted by the applicant. And number five, the property owner must grant the city a pedestrian easement for the portion of the sidewalk that will be on private property. Planning and Zoning Board did review this on April 15th and recommended approval by a unanimous vote. You do have the original site plans and elevations that were originally approved included in your backup. And as I said, staff recommendation is to approve this as it's presented, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Does the applicant wish to make a statement, providing testimony?
Anyone have any questions after? Shall we entertain a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call?
Commissioner Tarpon?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery?
Yes.
Mayor Archie?
Yes. Item number 15, resolution 2013-19, application number 13-23, Tarpon starter and alternator additional use application for 444 East Lemon Street.
Resolution 2013-19, a resolution of the City of Tarpon Springs, Florida, approving application number 13-23, conditional use for automobile service use for property located at 444 East Lemon Street, providing for findings, providing for conditions, and providing for an effective date. Resolution 2013-19 by title only.
Thank you. This is application 13-23 for Tarpon starter and alternator for property located at 444 East Lemon Street. The applicant and the owner is Mr. Joseph Panino. I see him sitting back there. I'm not sure he was sworn either. We'll see if we need to do that. The applicant has an existing business in Tarpon on South Stafford, Tarpon starter and alternator. He's been in the city for quite a while and now wishes to get out of the lease and rent business and own his own property. So he purchased the property at 444 East Lemon to move his starter and alternator business there. The conditional use aspect of this tonight is because he wishes to be able to do just very minor, auto repair related uses. A lot of his stuff doesn't really necessarily would require the conditional use approval, but in the event that someone actually brings a vehicle there, he does need the ability to be able to pull it inside and actually, put in a starter or an alternator as the case needs. So within the zoning district that it's in, he's in the special area plan in the T4B that does require the conditional use approval. Under the standards for review, there are no issues with the conformance of the with the requirements of the land development code or the SMART code. as I spoke, we are addressing the conditional use aspect tonight. He does desire to install starters and alternators along with performing other general automobile repairs, including batteries, fan belts, water pumps, etc. And the applicant has agreed to perform all those repairs inside the building. We feel that the use is compatible with existing and planned uses in the area, and is consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan, as well as the special area plan for the sponge docks and the CRA redevelopment area. We don't expect any impacts on environmental or historical resources or adverse effects on property values or neighboring property values. And we do have adequate resources to provide services to the property. That's the bulk of the conditional use review criteria. We've had a couple of just general phone calls inquiring, when we sent out notices, just to clarify what the use was. Had nothing in opposition, has been entered into public record. During the public hearing at the Planning and Zoning Board, I just didn't want to get into the public record. One member did abstain from voting because he has property nearby. He also spoke during public comment just as to raise the question of about any noise that might be in the area. And the applicant did respond to that he will, again, adhere to doing everything inside. It's not a full-blown auto body type shop. It's just minor auto repairs. Ultimately, the Planning and Zoning Board did recommend approval of the conditional use unanimously with the staff recommendation of approval, consistent with the staff recommendation of approval, subject to 3 conditions. Number 1, all automobile service-related work must occur inside the garage or building. Number 2, no excessive accumulation of waste oils and fluids is allowed. And number 3, the waste fluids must be stored in appropriate containers. Staff recommendation is to approve the application with those 3 conditions. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you have at the appropriate time. Thank you.
Does the applicant wish to make a presentation or give testimony? Any members of the public, either in support or in opposition?
Commissioner Tarpon.
Thank you. Ms. Minson, in an effort just to briefly educate members of the public, could you speak to the limits of a conditional use once it's granted? Let's say Mr. Panino failed to comply with the limitations of the conditional use.
The limitations of the conditional use are part of the actual approval. It's in the resolution. If there's a problem whereby they're exceeding those limits, or if, let's say, he's outside repairing cars on the street, those can be enforced through code enforcement, just like any other portion of the land development code. Does that answer your question?
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. I just wanted to know what the hours of operation would be.
I meant to refer to the applicant for that. We didn't specify any hours of operation as a condition. I think probably normal business hours, 8 to 5 type of thing. He did state during the public hearing at Planning and Zoning Board that he didn't work on weekends, so.
No mechanics work on weekends.
Yeah. I also do want to say, just for the record, he also does have an application in for our Grant Facade program, which will be reviewed Thursday at the Technical Review Committee, and hopefully will be approved. So he does intend to improve the front of the building and spruce things up on Lemon Street for us.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Lawson?
I just wanted to confirm the applicant is okay with the 3 conditions from the Planning and Zoning Board?
Yeah, yes.
That's all. Thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Roll call.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery? Yes. Mayor Archie?
Yes. Next we'll go to miscellaneous items. Item number 16, replacement of member of Board of Adjustment.
I don't have much to add other than the written back. If you looked at the videos I've actually looked at, obviously the City Commission has the ability to replace a member of any board that will. My recommendation is that in the best interest of the city that you replace Mr. Nate Talarino on the Board of Adjustments and place another member on the eligibility list based on the information I've given you.
Thank you. What I'll do in starting off is that I'll read the memorandum that Commissioner Banther, who couldn't be here, wrote It says, regarding Mr. Nate Pellerino in my absence from the May 7th, 2013 BOC meeting, I felt it important to share my thoughts on the important issue regarding Mr. Pellerino. I, of course, support whatever decision my colleagues on the BOC come to in my absence. First, and regardless of the outcome, I would like to personally thank Mr. Pellerino for being willing to serve on the Board of Adjustments. We all know service on these advisory boards are on a volunteer basis and causes sacrifices to be made with work and family. I have reviewed the video from January and February Board of Adjustment meeting and as well as the audio from the April 24th meeting. I've also reviewed all correspondence regarding this issue that is public record. It's my opinion that Mr. Pellerino has displayed behavior that is not a good representation of Tarpon Springs on the Board of Adjustments. Some of his odd no votes and confusing procedural comments can be excused as being a new board member and could improve over time. Having served 5 years on 2 separate advisory boards prior to my election, I understand this. However, his power tie comment to the attorney representing the Tarpon Key application was unequivocally out of line and inappropriate. There's no excuse for that. Such demeaning comments should not be tolerated from advisory board members. I've yet to see where he has apologized for that comment. I would like to have Mr. Pellerino, as a matter of record, apologize for his behavior and reassure the Board of Commissioners that this will not happen again. If he would sincerely offer this apology, I will be willing to extend him a warning and allow him to continue to serve. If Mr. Pellerino is at all resistant to that, I would move for his dismissal without cause. This is a tough decision, but I believe it's the job of our commissioners to ensure that we have the best possible people representing Tarpon Springs on the advisory boards. I have met Mr. Pellerino. He appears to me to be an accomplished professional and a very good family man. This has nothing to do with anything personal, but rather us making sure our advisory boards are representing Tarpon Springs in the best possible manner. And this was sent by Commissioner Banther. From that, I don't know if anybody have any comments, if desire to hear from Mr. Pellerino. He would definitely have an opportunity in public comments in terms of responding to what's been said here and the emails that have been sent to him. Vice Mayor?
Well, I did review the tapes. Actually, the morning after at 9 a.m. my phone rang from some people that were at the meeting the night that he made the power tie comment. And Attorney Armstrong is a very well-respected attorney in this community. Brings a lot of people to our community. And when I heard that he was, you with the power tie, what is your name again? I just found it very disrespectful. I did watch some other meetings after that meeting, and it's just the demeanor from this board member is just, Mr. Pellerino is just, I don't know if he knows what his role is as a board member. We have discussed as a board here some training for board members, but if we have to train people how to behave and act in a civil manner, I don't know if that's really our role. I think that should just be a given, because you do represent the city when you sit up here. Any board member, including us, we represent the city. So, and in public, not only here and in public, out in the community. So it's important that we conduct ourselves in the proper manner. So I'd like to hear what my other colleagues have to say. Well, we'd also like to hear from Mr. Pellerino, if he would like to.
Mr. Tarpon.
Thank you. I would just say that I think it's unfortunate for this Board of Commissioners to again have to revisit issues with board members on advisory boards. This is the second time that the city manager has brought this to our attention for this particular individual. Everyone has reviewed the tapes without a doubt. Mr. Tallerino has been out of line on more than one occasion. I think it has to be understood that members of advisory boards are not only representing this board as a whole, but they're also representing you, the members of the public and the community. And when a board member, not just on this particular case, but in general, is out of line or demeaning or belittling to an applicant, you have to understand that that's bad for business. That's not good for the city of Tarpon Springs, and that's our job up here as a whole, is to basically manage the day-to-day operations of what's going on within this community. So I do think that for this board to hear for the second time that something needs to be done from our city manager, I would have to agree that at this point we need to look at this closely and do something one way or another, and then begin to look at other boards as well who have had multiple complaints. Thank you.
Commissioner Lawson.
Thank you. I'll just say a couple quick things, and then I'd be eager to hear from public comment. But it was mentioned that we're revisiting this for a second time. One concern that I have is that about a month and a half or 2 months ago, when Mr. LaCour sent the first email regarding concerns on Mr. Tallerino, Mr. Tallerino is not copied on any of those emails. Last week, I believe, was the first time that he was made aware of any concerns. So that's one concern that I have, the process that we're going through, that he wasn't aware that there was any discussion. Other than that, I'm eager to hear from public comment, but I just wanted to point that out, that he wasn't made aware that there were emails going around about him.
Thank you. I don't have a problem, and I like to listen to Mr. Tallerino. I tell you that the irony of this coming up during Civility Month is, I don't know. But I guess, my concern is that I've addressed before, and I've tried to have it whereas it's not any individual, but just in how we deal with the public. I think all of us have a responsibility. We all are human, and because of that, there are times that people might be a little aggravating, but it's our job to look at trying to deal with people in a respectful manner. I do agree with the comments that Commissioner Banther made, and that the comment is totally inappropriate, and it puts us in a position of what do we do, and especially me, because I've already said to everyone that's on the advisory board, any way you want to vote, that's your business. I have no problem with, you're voting the way that you feel that you need to vote. But I continue to have a problem with how we speak to people, period. So I say that, and, we can open it up to public comments and give Mr. Tallerino the first opportunity to come and address this. And I'm not sure if things would have changed if he knew that the city manager had a concern or not. But we definitely should let everyone know, and I think everybody knew how I felt going forward with just being respectful. So, anybody like to have a comment on this item? Please come forward, state your name, address for the record, and you'll be given 4 minutes.
I'm Nate Tellerino. I'm the member of the Board of Adjustments that we're discussing, and I live at 1220 Castle Terrace. Mr. Mayor, Madam Vice Mayor, distinguished board, thank you for allowing me. Is it 4 minutes that I have?
We'll start there if you need to wrap up or something.
I want to be respectful, so I want to make sure I don't overstep my bounds on time. I appreciate. I'll start with this idea that this is the second time that I've heard from a couple of the members of this board that we're dealing with this particular member. I want to kind of start with that in that I was unaware until very recently that emails, which are a matter of the public record, are going around 2 months ago about my demeanor, attitude. I believe demeanor is what our city manager used, the terminology used at the February meeting. Was completely unaware of it, and I want to thank Commissioner Slattery for correctly pointing out that, and I now find in arrears recently, that apparently this body has taken up the cause of potentially training our advisory board. Commissioner Townsend used the term advisory board. I was unaware that I'm on an advisory board. I thought it was a quasi-judicial board, which, in my understanding, unless I'm incorrect, we can ask our attorney, is different than an advisory board. I would like, for the record, to say this, first and foremost. If my actions in the February meeting, which, to use Mr. Townsend's logic, would be the first time that I offended anybody, I wholeheartedly want to apologize. If I knew Mr. Armstrong and knew how to get in touch with him, in fact, I would love, if it's a possibility, if I can get his email or maybe his phone number, I'll contact him and apologize if I in any way offended him. I really didn't know. We had a couple individuals in the audience. You may not have been able to tell from our video because it's so blurry, that had ties on. I wanted to make sure they knew I was trying to figure out exactly who this individual is. Since I am new to Tarpon Springs, I do not know who Mr. Armstrong is. And I want to make sure that the record shows that I am apologetic, sincerely apologize if I offended anybody. But back to what we were saying about training. You know, when I was first, given the opportunity to be on the board, and you guys elected me, or appointed me, as a alternate member, you sent me a packet, Sunshine Laws, a little bit of ethics, not much, and a very confusing information about forms, disclosure forms that we all fill out regarding income, conflicts, that kind of thing. What was devoid, and I've now had to find time between changing diapers on 2 small children, running my son around to the Little League, and being involved and active in the community and building a business. I've had to take time to learn. There's something called Robert's Rules, and maybe our attorney can speak to it, but it is the portion of your meetings, our meetings. I imagine, I've never been to one, planning and zoning meetings where I'd like the motion, I second the motion, and that portion. It's kind of an archaic English language procedures, if you will. I've been learning about them, and I've taken that on to learn about it. So to speak to Commissioner Slattery's point, perhaps that's what may be missing with these advisory boards and these quasi-judicial boards. And I can tell you that if this board finds that they truly understand that I am apologetic and sincere about it and give me an opportunity, you will see that, to speak to our city managers, my demeanor will be much more professional, more becoming of a truly judicial appointment from the bench. So I apologize. This is a volunteer endeavor. I did not go to law school, as I told Mr. Armstrong in that meeting. So I'm kind of learning this, but I try to follow the code exactly. Our concern in that particular meeting was our staff attorney was agreeing with the applicant's attorney that our code was wrong and possibly unconstitutional. It's very confusing for a citizen who's never been to law school. I understand that during that meeting, the attorney mentioned that it was probably incorrect and not written correctly. I don't know if that's been brought to this board's attention. Now we're past 60 days. But just getting back to the point, Mr. Townsend's point about the advisory versus the quasi-judicial, and more importantly, Mr. Townsend's point about this being the second issue. All this kind of came to light to me within the past week that our newest member of the board sent an email, which is a matter of public record, in which I must admit I had to get a thesaurus out. I don't know if any of you did. Some of those words are pretty large. In which he says that he had an encounter with me at Publix, and he's not here to defend himself. I have no issues with that member. We spoke briefly. It upset him. He left. I was with my small children, and that's hearsay between two citizens that's being brought before this board. And he's not here to defend himself. But I think that's what you're saying is the second issue for me as a member of the Board of Adjustment. So if again, I apologize if my demeanor was in any way offensive. I'll take it on to make that a matter of the public record here, and if I need to, send an email to Mr. Armstrong. On the second issue, though, the fact that we jumped from me not knowing anything about this to being put on the agenda by staff to be removed as a second issue when I didn't know the first one existed did take me by surprise, very disconcerting, especially I have never met the city manager. If I have, Mr. LaCourse, I apologize if I've met you in public somewhere. I apologize, I don't remember. But not getting an opportunity to defend myself and immediately jumping to putting me on removal, to me this is the first issue. But if this board finds in their hearts to accept my apology, understand I'm being very sincere, what they'll see is an individual that takes this position, the quasi-judicial, takes the spirit of the fact that we are quasi-judicial and that we're not biased and impartial very seriously, and asks questions of our applicants, and shows up to meetings. If this board will allow me to remain, you will see that following Robert's rules, you will see a much better performance out of this appointed member of the board. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Thank you. Any other comments?
My name's Francis King. I'm the board chairman for the Board of Adjustment, 233 Grand Boulevard, Tarpon Springs. I was just made aware that this was on the agenda. Might have been today, might have been yesterday. And I don't have knowledge of these events that have supposedly occurred outside of the meetings. I'm just here to say that Mr. Tallerino comes to the meetings. He's well prepared. He asks questions, and that in that way he is a benefit to the board in examining the issues that we need to examine and to making the decisions that we need to make. I would imagine that now that he is aware of what people consider to be issues with what he has done and how he has conducted himself, that he will deal with those issues. Again, I don't have knowledge of whether or not, what has occurred or whether or not he's been put on notice that he needs to make adjustments. I don't know. But being in the meetings and knowing that at worst Mr. Tallerino is a very enthusiastic and highly participating member of that board, I don't think that that's a reason to remove him from the board. I think it may be a reason for more explanation to be given to him about how to conduct himself as a representative on the board, and to concur with what he said. As a board, we are not given training whatsoever. I've been on the board, I thought about it for a very long time, and we have never actually had any sort of instruction on how to conduct the board's business. We come here as volunteers, we are appointed to the board, we are given our business to conduct, and we conduct that business to the best of our ability. I think that's what he does, and I think that he's well prepared. I think that he asks good questions. I think that maybe he could be a little bit more calm at some points, but I don't think that any of that is a reason to remove him from the board. And that is based on his behavior and the things that I have personal knowledge of. So that's why I'm here this evening, just to support him as a good member of the board, somebody that I think contributes well to our business, and to ask that now that he's aware of what the concerns are, that he be given the opportunity to address those concerns and to remain on the board. Thank you very much.
George Chambers, 1123 Sunset Ridge Lane, Tarpon Springs. I didn't know first if I was going to come up here today or not, and then I had an opportunity to speak with Nate, and he told me about how he was apologetic for the event. I know Nate outside of the board. I've never seen you at a board member meeting, but I know that his wife and my wife go to, and our kids go to ballet and dance together, and I know that professionally we do things together business-wise as it relates to in the insurance world. and he handles himself in a very professional manner. As it relates to the comments that were made, I think that based on who I know Nate to be, the apology is sincere. Like I said, at first I didn't know if I was coming tonight. And after Nate had explained to me later today that he was going to be making the comments that he was, I knew ensure that I would be here. But I will tell you that I can appreciate the board's concern. I sit on the board myself, and I can appreciate that we need to make sure that we hold ourselves to a different standard above all the rest and do the right thing for our community, because we are the gateway to the community, and the people that come to visit with us are trying to do business with us, and if we put roadblocks in that way that are not necessary, then sometimes it works against us. So thank you for the time to speak, and thank you, Mr. Tellerino, for your comments.
Any other public comments on this item? Well, back in our hands again. I tell you, Mr. Tellerino coming forward, and I guess I look to our colleague who's not here. And for me, I know that we probably have some board members that would never come and publicly apologize for anything that they've said or done. So I definitely appreciate that. I believe that is sincere. But I would like to say this to all of our board members, is that, you know, what we dealt with for civility and how we deal with the public is something that we don't have a class on, one-on-one on civility and treating people. That's just something that hopefully we learn, that this is how we should treat other people, and the things that we say can be taken in a demeaning way. And this is what, you know, whether we give the additional training, which I hope that we do, I just think that that's something that we must continue to adhere to, and that starts with us here. And I guess, you know, as I watch the tapes, I know that sometimes, you know, you're passionate about things, and you get a little intense about the things that you're passionate about. But by the same token, we have to be very careful in terms of what we say. So I don't know how my colleagues feel in terms of moving forward with this. I know that some say that, you know, there should be no second chances, whether the first one, the second one. Truthfully, you know, I really hate to get into what one person say about another person, you know, without adequate witnesses and the rest of it, because it's always going to be the way I see it, the way you see it, and, you know, as we move forward. But it's another opportunity for us to discuss what's come forward to us, and then take whatever necessary action that we deem is appropriate in moving forward. So, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. And I do want to thank Mr. Tellerino for stepping up and volunteering for a board, because you know, it's time. It's your time, and what I did see, you do come prepared to the meetings. I think, and when I say there, we've discussed training, yes, Robert Rules of Order, procedural things, sunshine law, but we have to remember, we can't train you on how to respect others, and I think that's what we're trying to get at, because, like I said, we've had other issues with other boards and members, so this is coming up again. And, you know, I don't know where to go from here, but it's a tough situation, and for us, a tough decision to make, you know, which way to go. But again, it's just a matter of being respectful. That's what we're asking here. We have many people that come to this community, that want to come to this community, and us, I know myself, sitting up here the past 5 years, we get a lot of phone calls, concerns about some of our boards and being tough or questions that they're asking that, you know, are not even relevant to the application. So, you know, it's just, and we're trying to overcome some of these issues. So, just so you know kind of where I'm coming from with this, I just wanted you to understand. But I do want to thank you for volunteering. I don't know where else to go from here.
Commissioner Tarpon,
I would just say that I would agree with you, Mayor, that I think there's other members of boards that if they were in the same position as Mr. Salarino, they wouldn't be here to apologize. And I think at that point, the board has there's no question in my mind if somebody's not here to apologize for maybe overstepping their bounds or being rude or disrespectful, then at that point the board has no choice but to remove that individual. So the chairperson of the Board of Adjustment has spoke for Mr. Talarino. Mr. Chambers, who sits on the Planning and Zoning Board, has spoke for Mr. Talarino, and knowing him outside of a board capacity. And I think there's no turning back now. The man has apologized. He knows that there's been some issues, and should we move forward tonight, then we'll look for some more acceptable behavior. I appreciate you coming tonight.
I don't have a lot to add. I agree with what Commissioner Tarpon said. Mr. Talarino was recently made aware of concerns. He came to the podium. He apologized for any offensive behavior. I think it's time to move on. I'd be in favor of doing nothing with this agenda item at this time and continuing to monitor all of our boards.
And I'll say again is that I respect Mr. Talarino for apologizing. To me, I think it takes a man to be able to say, hey, you know what? I look at my behavior and I could have dealt with things differently. And I look at it from my perspective. The easiest thing for me to do is to say, hey, I've already gone on public record once. You do something on a board, I think that's not right, then hey, that's it. But you know, I too can look and I can say, all right, we can take a step backwards. But I continually share is that I'm very, very, very concerned. You know, and I say this is that the way you vote on an issue, you vote because that's the way you believe. The way you talk to people is to me is of utmost concern because we represent the citizens of Tarpon, first and foremost. Everyone that's sitting here was elected by the citizens of Tarpon. Everybody else that serves was appointed by someone either that was sitting here or was sitting here at one point in time. So therefore, it is a very, very difficult responsibility. And while I know that some would probably tell me after the meeting, yeah, you should have pushed it and rushed it. I do believe that, you know, in second chances and looking at the things that I believe that Mr. Talarino could still bring to that board and the citizens of Tarpon, you know, with the necessary behavior. So I look for a motion or direction in terms of where we should go.
No, you can ask for a motion, Mayor. If there is none, then you can move on to the next item.
Is there a motion? Hearing none, we'll move to our next agenda item. That's discussion 4th of July fireworks. This was brought forward by Commissioner Tarpon.
Thank you.
You want to start it off? You want the city manager to?
No, I'll grab the bull by the horns here. This is, as you all know, this is something. The 4th of July celebration to me is very important. I believe it's a national. You know, it obviously is a national holiday. You know, honoring our men and women who have served to defend our freedom for the country. When I first was elected to the commission and we were going through the budget, I brought the item up for discussion or asked, I can't remember exactly how it went, but asked to discuss it or asked to fund the portion in our budget, and there was some discussion on shooting fireworks off where we used to do in Wickham Bayou, and I understand that there is a public safety concern with that, and that's why we can no longer do that. So you see in the backup, first I wrote an email after a conversation that I had with City Manager LaCourse, and I apologize for some of the typos, but I did write it at lunch. So then I followed up with a memo based on my request for this commission to discuss it. So basically what I would like to do is have a fireworks display this year. I think it's a good way for us to show our patriotism, although we do have a nice event in Craig Park, and I've said in my backup that I would be in total support and in favor of maintaining the event that's in Craig Park. But as the sun begins to set, we transition from the event that's in the day in Craig Park to encouraging our residents to go watch the fireworks display from Howard Park. So in my mind, I envision the city shooting off or projecting the fireworks from Sunset Beach and having the residents view from either water or from Howard Park. I understand, based on a conversation with the city manager, that when the Rotary had their triathlon, the county charged for whatever the day's worth of parking would be, which I think was $5,500. Our situation would be a little bit different. Number one, it's 4th of July and it's a national holiday. Number two, the Rotary Triathlon takes place in the morning and during the day. And what I would be requesting with the consent of the board, is I would be requesting, obviously to waive the parking fee, but from a time of about 6 o'clock until after the fireworks show. So really, the revenues lost to the county wouldn't be what they were if we were asking for the whole day's worth. The city manager has said that we would be able to provide crowd control or traffic control with our police force. And basically what I'm asking for the commission is I'm asking for the commission to join with me in going out for bid or joining with me and saying, yes, we will give our residents the fireworks show again. They ask about it every year. Every year we have, or in recent history, we have to give them the same answer. And I think it's time that we step up to the plate and give them a fireworks show again. And if the concern is the parking issue at Howard Park, as I said, with your direction, initially I was going to send an email or send a letter to the county requesting that parking fee be waived so I could come to this commission and say it has been waived. And then I rethought that, and I didn't want to be so vain as to jump out in front of this commission and go to the county initially without your consent. So I rethought that, and that's what I've decided to do. So I'd like for the commission to consider it. If we can have a consensus on it or even vote on it, whether or not we'd like to do that. The city manager has told me verbally on multiple occasions, and I'll let him speak to this, that the funding for the actual fireworks show is available. I think we discussed in years past we budgeted about $18,000, Mr. LaCourse. So that funding is available, and really just the question would be whether or not you'll join with me to give our residents a fireworks show, and if that's the case, then one way or another, I'll leave the charge on the parking fee for Howard Park, whether it be waived by the county or we do some form of a sponsorship from local businesses and pick up whatever that parking fee would be. And I feel like I could raise that money, and I saw the memo from Commissioner Banther, and he's willing to help with that as well should the county shut us down.
I don't know whether you have something to say first. Just let me respond to some of the issues and resolve. Obviously, it's not budgeted, but I'm sure some of the same people who called Commissioner Tarpon, we talked about, especially with things that have been going on with what happened in Boston. I think this is one of those years like 9/11 when the patriotism and stuff is high, and there's a lot more fever for doing something. Not that we're out of bad budget times, but we're a lot better off than we were in 2009, 2010, 2011 when we didn't budget for it and stuff. So I'm sure we have got some projects out there, something where we could pull the initial $20,000, probably $18,000 to $20,000 to do a respectable fireworks show. The last one we did was a very nice show for that price range. We have been told, of course, the first thing I had to do was make sure at this late notice, would there be fireworks companies at this late notice on the 4th of July to be able to do a show of them? We have at least several that have said, yes, when can we put in the bid? So the first problem was you're in May, you're way too late to do a 4th of July show. That doesn't exist because they're ready. In fact, they're working up their bids now. In fact, the bid will be something like, what's the best bang for the buck you can give us for $18,000 to $20,000, and whoever gives us the most and best displays, who we would pick. So that's solved. The police department last week did a workup on the personnel costs. The personnel costs for the police, especially utilizing, I think, the 2008 plan. If anybody remember 2007 or the year before we stopped fireworks, it was a disaster getting the cars out. They did a new traffic plan. They put officers as far in as MLK and in the downtown to keep that traffic moving. The final year we did them, which I think was 2008, was a whole. Adding those officers and taking them all the way to intersections to get the people out was a lot better than that disaster of 2007 that we did. So they're convinced they can do that same plan, and obviously the county's going to want us to provide the security and everything for there. So between that and city workers, and overtime that we're talking about somewhere in the overtime costs around $4,000 or so, $4,000, $4,500. And then the only third obstacle we've got to get, of course, we've got to get a permit from the county to do it. First of all, permission from them to do it, and what are they going to... Now, usually we might have to pay for somebody, a staff member or two of the park to be on overtime. That's what we've done all the time. Hopefully that's all we have to do. Hopefully they can be convinced that, they'll join with us in this and not hit us with a fee, a park rental fee, a parking fee, whatever they call it. And so if that's the case, we can probably do this all for under $25,000 and have this show along again. Since Waste Management is picking up the 95 to 100% of the bill, we can have a nice picnic from 10 to 2. Everybody go get changed up and then have the fireworks this year if that's the will of the commission. Well, everybody's ready to. We're kind of preparing for this meeting since we're short time, so. Everybody's ready to start moving if there's the consensus of this commission.
Well, I thank you for that. First I'll say is that one of the things that's been coming to my mind, and I was wondering, we're going to try to go forward and do a budget amendment, an adjustment, is that these type of events, to me, are one time. We've got $10 million, and I know it gets down to a point, everybody say the reserve. I don't see why we can't have what I consider a great 4th of July as far as fireworks is concerned. I would hope that the county would say that the park is not open anyway, so they wouldn't be generating any money for parking, So anything they would get would be on the backs of everybody that want to celebrate the 4th of July. And that's what I will share with every commissioner and the administrators there. It's not open, so therefore this time that we're basically talking about is a time where you could help us to celebrate. So I have no problem in us moving forward. I would hope that we would look at it as or use of our reserves. I know that when times was harder, we was concerned about how much we're drawing down on it. Even this year, it still increased after everything was said and done. The reserves are still at an acceptable level. So, to me, we have the money. Let's move forward. The letter, I think, should go forward. Not only that, but we should be contacting some of our commissioners and letting them know that, we don't call on them very often. But when we do, we would like for them to be very supportive of some of the things that we think is not only going to be good for Tarpon, but this is good for, our country. We talked about and we sent the banner that the Recreation Department generated to Boston, and we're talking about Boston Strong, America Strong. This is just another opportunity for us to show that, our patriotism. So I have no problem in supporting that in terms of moving forward. And I would, since it's been so long, that maybe we can have the best one we ever had, instead of it being where, we're trying to just make it happen, but hey, to really go ahead and put forth our best effort, and I would even ask for the police department to donate their time, but I don't want to push it.
You probably have some labor problems.
Well, it won't be the first one. Commissioner Lawson.
Thank you. First, I'd like to express my appreciation to Commissioner Tarpon for bringing this forward, also to the city manager for already getting the ball rolling in terms of looking into some of the logistics. And I agree with what the mayor said. Let's try to find a way to do this. Let's put this out for bid, see what we get. I noticed the city manager mentioned getting the biggest bang for our buck. I thought that was very witty. Let's put it out there, see what we can get. Let's contact the county and find out what we can do parking-wise. And let's continue to look into whatever other logistical issues we may have. Would we need to close Sunset Beach early in order to set up if we're going to be shooting them from Sunset Beach, things of that nature. And then let's bring it back to this board for approval once we have all of the specifics and we know for sure what the dollar cost would be and things of that nature.
Any public comments on this item?
Good evening again, George Chambers, 1123 Sunset Ridge Lane, Tarpon. Commissioner Tarpani, I just want to applaud you for your effort and let you know that with the We Salute You event coming up that we're doing, that after this is over, if you want some of my sponsors to be involved in helping you try to figure out some of this, we have people that like to help veterans in our community, along with the city of Tarpon Springs. So I think we can help you with that. I just wanted to come out and make that comment to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I just want to make sure that there's a consensus of the board that with the city manager's efforts that we reach out to the county, and I was going to draft a letter to the county commissioners trying to broach the topic of whether or not, where the parking fee would be or if there even would be anyone. I just want to make sure that with your permission that would be acceptable.
I have no problem with that. I think that, a personal telephone call to our commissioners would probably be helpful to them understanding the importance of this.
Sure.
And that if it goes to a point of being an agenda item, they can rest assured that we'll be there to talk publicly about their help in once getting this done.
Can I just ask you a question? Did you say the park is closed on the 4th?
4th of July? Everything is closed on 4th, isn't it?
I don't think so.
It's a holiday?
They've been closing some, but I don't know about the park. I know they closed one. I don't know about the 4th of July.
Yeah, I don't know about the 4th.
It would be closed at night.
We're talking about nighttime.
Yeah, at night.
Oh, at night,
I mean, I don't assume that they close at dark.
That's okay. Now I understand what you're saying. That's close. I got a little confused. Okay, thank you.
I'd just like to thank the commission.
Yeah, well, thank you for bringing that forward. With that, we'll move to item number 18, appointment to the Public Art Committee. I think we've had a resignation, and we have Ms. Lisa Sibley as someone that would like to be on there. Can we get a motion?
I would like to appoint Lisa Sibley to fill the unexpired term of Georgia Post, alternate number 1. This term would expire October 31st, 2014, to the Public Art Committee.
Second.
Any public comments on this item? Roll call.
Commissioner Terrapini?
Yes.
Commissioner Larson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Slattery? Yes. Mayor Archie?
Yes. This concludes our regular session agenda. Chief?
No comments, Mayor.
The attorney?
No comments. Thank you.
City manager?
Yes, going back to the issue of boards and the training that we've said, Mr. Yakimone has that training all set and ready to go. What idea I wanted to broach with you is if, obviously there's several ways to do it. We have thought about doing it at one of the board meetings, and planning and zoning said inviting all the other board members too. But the idea came up about the possibility of maybe doing with either the off Tuesday of June or maybe the work session date of June. We had a work session while, but the thought of to do it with as part of the city commission meeting, we're asking the boards to come to where not only Mr. Yakavone can give the necessary training that again the board can hear again, but these boards can hear of, but there would also be a chance for this board to relay some of the things we talked about of what is expected at the meetings, what the expectations are. Again, that's just one option to do. I had said about the work session in May, but I was noted that it's the day after Memorial Day, and we might have some problems with people coming back on the 28th is open, but there are some thoughts on Memorial Day, would that be in conjunction with Memorial Day weekend? But again, we can either set it for that day, we could set it for one of the other board meetings. It's probably an item that probably needs to be the single thing on the agenda. That's why we didn't want to either bring it to an agenda or something like that, because I think the training in itself, besides questions, as Mr. Yakbone said, running through it's about 45 minutes to an hour, then there's questions afterwards. So, whereas it could be at a board, then the thought was to have it at a separate meeting, possibly those two days. But, he's waiting for the direction of any way you want us to set these up. Obviously, want to try to avoid setting up one with each board and doing 5 of them. But, we just wanted your thoughts of, how to set this up, and if it was thought that the commission would be involved in a commission meeting or a work session type setting, that if the dates of June 11th or June 25th, if one would be better than the other or something.
We had a budget workshop.
Oh, okay. I guess we're not trying to use the 25th. But again, what are the thoughts of the commission on how to deliver this training?
One thing I didn't have a chance to talk to you about when I found out that our graduation this year is on our first Tuesday. I was hoping that we could maybe move it to the second Tuesday. But we do have, I know this is important and we want to get it done, but in July there's 5 Tuesdays. Yeah. But I would like for us to consider that. I know that there's a few of us up here that sponges.
Mayor, can I make a comment?
I did get a call today about that graduation being on, inviting y'all to on Tuesday night, 4th. Just kind of.
I'll be out of town the 11th. I was just going to point out, I like this idea in theory, but one question or concern I have, the boards are all very, very different. The planning and zoning board, their duties and responsibilities, the vocabulary that they need to know is radically different than the public art committee, for example, or the board of adjustments. I'm not sure how we would do one training for all the various boards. It was mentioned by a board member that came to the podium that when they first got on the board, they just started getting their packet and they had to show up at meetings and do the best they could with it. And that was my experience on the planning and zoning board as well. I think, in my opinion, and maybe I'm alone on this, but in my opinion, the type of training that they need, in addition to Robert's Rules of Order and things of that nature, but really there needs to be training related to what that board does. And I'm not sure how we would do that for all boards at one time. It's all very much individual to the board.
I agree with Commissioner Larson, not to jump out there, but perhaps you could do an advisory board, and in the essence of not having however many different board meetings we have, and do it on an individual basis, but maybe you could do a quasi-judicial training, and then you could also do just like an advisory board training. Just a thought, but I do agree with what Commissioner Larson's saying. Each board is drastically different. That helps.
Well, I don't know whether, with that thought, that we need to talk in terms of us setting aside a meeting, other than, trying to do those individual light boards together. And then it's trying to get with Mr. Yacob, and I assume that that's who's doing it. Is Jim doing it?
This is the first I've heard about it, so I'm assuming
It's what type of training that, he thinks that's important for each of those as we move forward. I know that when, I think Mr. Hubbard did that, the Sunshine Law, they paid that, So, if this is of the same magnitude we think it out, then maybe we can take it so that, when future, board members come on, they can have something to review, because you're not going to be able to, every time we change the board, the people are going to be able to get that type of training. But if we do it and we have a DVD, then they can at least look at that, and if they have any additional questions, they'll be able to go before or go to the attorney and talk with them. But that's just something to think about. We got to lose time.
Yeah. Let me make an observation here too, and certainly all due respect to Commissioner Larson. I'd be concerned in a training setting that the training would almost, and this is going to sound sort of antithetical, but the training might be too specific, because those standards that are applicable to the quasi-judicial boards, for example, are probably better addressed in the quasi-judicial setting in terms of for example, applying, specific criteria to a specific application. Whereas the general things that the board members need to know, whether they be quasi-judicial or otherwise, could really be covered in a single session. And I'm thinking, Sunshine Law, Public Records Law, Robert's Rules of Order, and those things would be applicable to all the boards. The other thing I would note is that in looking through some of the backup material for tonight's meeting, many of your applicants are applying to different boards. And so to the extent that you have a board member who may wish to, jump ship from one board to another, there may be some utility in, having that training all together to sort of set forth the framework that they're working under. And then as they sort of narrow down their focus to a particular board, either an individual conference with Jim or myself, or in response to a particular agenda item on that board agenda, getting some clearer direction in advance, as many of you do, on a particular agenda item in advance of the meeting.
You want Mr. City Manager?
Maybe what might be a good thing to do is all of us think on it, and when Jim's back, maybe we just take it up at the next meeting and get some ideas. Maybe it's a grouping of the ones that have hearings. I'll broach some of the thoughts tonight about maybe this meeting with the commission will apply to boards, like especially boards that deal with public, deal with your planning and zoning board adjustment type, and then a separate one for like a public art. There'd be a separate one for those people. We'll talk over some of the things, and maybe we'll come back at the next meeting, and everybody can think about it a little bit. Going back to that issue of the fourth, though, I know I didn't learn, and I don't know if I've ever heard of a graduation on a Tuesday before in Tarpon.
It's before school is even out.
Yeah, it is. They go to school Wednesday, but I heard about that today too, and that is an option. I just wanted to bring that up because I know all you invited. Some of you got kids you work with and stuff graduating. If there are some thoughts or anything on that meeting and something you want to do with that meeting.
Oh, I think we got to go to graduation. I mean, especially the mayor, right? I mean, we can't have a meeting on graduation night.
We should have told them that they can't have graduation on our commission.
Yeah, right.
But I don't know of any Tuesday it's been Thursday. I think we've had some Wednesday. I don't think we've ever had a Tuesday in Tarpon, Tuesday graduation. You said though you were going to be out of town.
I was going to say that during my comments, but I'll be out of town from the 9th to the 21st of June. So I think we have at least one meeting in there that I'll be absent for. Or absent.
We won't put anything on that too heavy. We want you to be here for the
really what's coming up.
Controversial items.
Anything that's coming up that I know of is not specific of whether they go on to meetings in June or go to July or can be done. If we have to move them up, we'll make sure we do it at the next meeting. I don't think there's any issues that crucial and controversial that we need all 5 people to vote on, essentially, that would, you know, again, have an agenda like tonight with Commissioner Banfield on that, you know, as light as possible. So we kind of, at the staff meeting, went over what's coming up, and it's kind of seems to be kind of slow coming up. So I don't think there's any problems if they did change that meeting, us making sure those issues are taken to a different meeting. Or again, we've got 5 Tuesdays in July. If we have to add if we had to add an extra meeting in July to cover some of them, then we got 5 Tuesdays to do that with and add that meeting in there. If we can, I don't anticipate that happening. But
Fair enough.
And if there's any item that you see when we have the draft agenda and stuff that you'd like to have for, we can always defer to when you're back.
Thank you.
So we still lost it.
No further comment.
I didn't go to the city clerk. I know she has something to say. Commissioner Tarpon.
I would just like to say against the vice mayor as well. I would like to congratulate her on her engagement. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor.
No comment.
On anything or just what?
I'm joining in Vegas. We're getting out in Vegas.
Wow. And I don't have any comments. I guess what goes on in Vegas stays in Vegas. And we'll adjourn this at 8:17.